Oh boy. Oh dear. Here we go again. I mean, how many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old hag? I mean, every other time you upload a video, I sit you down, I take you to class, and I school your dumbass. I school you and I show you exactly what is wrong with your ideology, your propaganda, what you try to teach to the world, and why it's not effective, why it doesn't work, why you're a hypocrite, why you need to do better and learn from your mistakes. And yet, despite all of the free lessons I've given you, which you really should be paying me at this point to be teaching you the way that I am. After all these free lessons, you still haven't learned anything. And it is extremely surprising. I mean, come on. You still haven't even figured out the fact that I don't drink milk because I'm lactose intolerant. I avoid milk like the damn plague. But of course, here you are again, once again, trying to claim that I'm some sort of promoter of dairy products, right? I just walk around with a big sign on my back that says, drink milk, people. I love milk. Yummy, yummy milk. When if anything, I'd probably be like, hey, maybe don't drink milk because a lot of people are lactose intolerant and eventually become lactose intolerant at some point. I mean, it doesn't help your stomach too much if you can't digest the lactose very well. So maybe consider some of the plant-based alternatives like I do. Like I actually use plant-based alternatives when it comes to most dairy products that I consume. But I'm sitting here and I'm trying to help you learn things, trying to help you better yourself, become a smarter, better, more knowledgeable human being. And I know it's completely pointless, but I'm just that selfless that I keep trying to help you, knowing that my efforts are futile. So you know what? Let's forget about that. Let's forget about the education part of these videos. And let's just focus on clowning this fucking deranged psychotic zombie from Resident Evil 7 and once again expose this lunatic for exactly what she is. A racist asshole that doesn't care about anybody but herself.
This video is for Curl King, a dark-skinned man who is actually extremely cruel to his own community.
Oh my god. Man, I got a good laugh at that one. The Curl King, a dark-skinned man. Like, why? Why is that gotta be the most important defining thing about me? When I make a video about you, or a video about anybody, I almost never, ever mention, like, their outward appearance, really. I never say this white person, this brown-skinned person. Like, I never do that. I really don't. And it's funny because one of the first videos that I made calling her out for being potentially racist was a long time ago now. And there's so many clips of it, of her like dropping the N-bomb and you guys can go watch those videos if you're interested, but some of those videos got demonetized when I showed those clips. I just won't. But her basically saying some pretty racist things. And like one of the things she said, emphasized was like, this dark-skinned person, it's just this guy with dark skin, I think is what she actually said. And that made me laugh. That made me chuckle then too, made me chuckle now. Boy, are we in for a doozy this time, aren't we?
Rather than educating his community as to how to be healthy and ethical and strong men, he encourages them to keep paying for the rape, torture, confinement, kidnapping, and murder of innocent animals. Curl King is a disgrace. Here are 7 ethical and health reasons why dark-skinned people, including Curl King and his audience, should be vegan. Rejecting exploitation in all forms. The history of slavery shows how Black people were treated as commodities, much like animals are treated today in factory farming.
What does she mean by educating my community? I know what she means by that. She means like other Black people, which is just so interesting. Does she think that like I can only speak to other Black people? Like, does she think we're back in like the 1800s when people of different colors like didn't really communicate with each other on a friendly basis? Like, is that like, does she still think it's those times? I mean, that's where she's from, a couple hundred years ago. That's when she was born, so it makes sense that she would hold those beliefs from back then and carry them on to now. Most old people get stuck in their ways, and the ways of the early 1800s are Miss Katie's, of course, so you can't really fault her for that. But let me just say, I already pointed this out in my previous video of her basically being racist towards me, where she used an example of a Black content creator that is vegan and saying, oh, I need to be like him. His name was Ebenezer. And I had called out that bullshit of being like, so I can only be like other Black creators? Is that your logic? And she basically has confirmed this, where she thinks that my community only has other Black people in it, that I only make commentary videos that appeal to other Black men. Like, what is wrong with you? I think the vast majority of my audience is very mixed. Fact of the matter is, the amount of people that are black that watch my content is probably a very small minority in comparison to the diversity of everybody else that watches it. So it's interesting that she's choosing this angle of me being harmful to my community by saying that, you know, it's okay to not be vegan, it's okay to eat meat, it's okay to consume dairy, all of that, which is really ironic. I mean, she's gonna get into detail. I know you guys are scratching your heads like, where the fuck is she going with this? Like, it does not make any sense, and it won't make sense in the future either, rest assured, but at least you'll kind of understand where she's coming from, I guess, like what her argument is, even if it is a faulty garbage one, of course.
By going vegan, Black individuals honor their ancestors' struggles by rejecting systems of oppression and exploitation. Animals are bred, sold, and killed as products, just like Black ancestors were bought, sold, and dehumanized. Standing against animal exploitation aligns with standing against all forms of oppression.
So this is really where we're at in the vegan movement now, huh? You got Tosh Peterson, that vegan teacher, and others now comparing racism, slavery, and all of that to what happens, obviously, to animals in the meat and dairy industry. And don't get me wrong, I get what they're trying to say. It's just not the same. And it's not the same for one simple reason. And that simple reason is a black person isn't a chicken. They keep trying to make this weird comparison. Oh, it's the same thing that happens to chickens. The same thing has happened with a chicken and a black person. They're not the same. A cow and a black person, not the same. And then, as I've mentioned a million times before, then they always want to make this argument that there's no moral difference between us and animals, which is bizarre because of a couple reasons. And I'm going to give you guys a very fast breakdown of this. So one, there are billions of animals that die every single year that we kill so that you can actually have your vegan, quote unquote, vegan products. One example of this that I always give are bees. You guys profit off the slave labor of bees that pollinate literally like more than 2/3 of the fruits that you consume on a daily basis, most likely. So if you are so against this oppression and slavery, then you would want those companies, those businesses, to stop exploiting bees the same way that chickens and cows are exploited, because all animals are equal in your eyes. Bees are sentient. I know you guys like to try to pretend that they're not so that you can get away with this injustice towards them, so you can remain morally consistent, but the fact of the matter is, no matter how you spin this, you can Google it, bees are sentient beings as well. They aren't sapient like us, where we try to draw the line. Most people that consume meat will say, well, we're fine with consuming non-sapient creatures, which those that are sapient includes like us, chimpanzees, other types of apes, dolphins, elephants. Like, sapience and sentience are very different. Now, that's its own kind of moral category of, I'm personally like, yeah, if it's not sapient, you can eat it. That's how I feel. Like, I pretty much draw the line there. I feel like people trying to consume things that are sapient, it's a little iffy, but like, at the same time, I don't control your morals. That's just where I stand morally, which is something that's a lesson that all of you vegans can learn from me, to stop sticking your morals up everybody else's ass and stick it up your own ass and let it be. Now, the other thing, this is an analogy I always use when confronted with this argument, which isn't an argument at all that humans are the same as other animals morally, because we're not. Because here's a good example. If that were the case, 90% of people would be in prison right now for third-degree manslaughter against any animal they've accidentally killed. So for instance, if you are driving down the road and a possum comes running across the street and you run it over, yeah, you didn't intend to kill that poor possum, but you did. And third-degree manslaughter is still something that you can be charged and convicted with and spend several years in jail for. It is just a fact of life. Now, if you switch out that possum with the child and people would agree, yeah, you should probably spend some time in jail because you weren't paying attention, you could have done a better job. Now, I want to make sure you guys understand, in this scenario, you're just not paying attention. It's not even like a complete accident. It's like you're not really paying attention. You're on your phone or something and you hit a kid, you hit a possum. 99.9% of people, including vegans, would agree that if you hit a child in this instance because you weren't paying attention, then you should be locked behind bars for some time. But at the same time, those same vegans would also agree, as well as most other people, that if it was a possum, you're fine. It's okay. It was an accident. You didn't mean it. It's okay. But to be consistent with your logic of humans being no morally different than any other animal, then you would want to see that person and yourself, because I'm sure you've done this, locked behind bars serving a lengthy prison sentence for all the animals you've done this to. I'm guilty of this. I was on the highway. I was paying attention, and I was actually trying to avoid this deer, but I was on the highway doing like 60 something miles an hour and it just came running out, and I was literally like swerving and there's cars behind me and like I'm not fully aware of all my surroundings, and I'm trying to avoid this damn deer, but it does the same thing and it like zigzags into me and I hit that deer, and I'm pretty sure that deer was a goner. But anyway, you guys need to accept the fact there's a difference. We morally differentiate ourselves from animals because it is a necessity to protect ourselves, as we are also animals. And what do all animals have in common? The interest in ensuring the survival of your own species. And following these stupid guidelines, these rules that you vegans lay out for us, severely contradicts nature in all of its forms. And if we lived exactly how you vegans wanted us to, humans would go extinct. In fact, humans would have been extinct thousands of years ago because so many different civilizations, the vast majority of them, would not have survived without animal products. And even now, there are several countries, many countries really, that could not survive without animal products, and that's just a fact.
Fighting racism in school nutrition. Many Black children are lactose intolerant, with studies estimating that up to 80% of Black individuals cannot digest cow's milk properly. Despite this, schools often provide free cow's milk to underprivileged kids, knowing it causes stomach pain, bloating, and diarrhea for many of them. This policy perpetuates systemic racism by ignoring the nutritional needs of these children and making them physically sick instead of offering plant-based options.
You know what's crazy? I actually agree with a very small piece of what she just said. The overall thing, no, she's literally trying to stretch this way beyond what it actually is, and it's disgusting, which we'll get to in a moment. But the part about like schools offering milk to kids and not really giving them alternatives, I lived that. In elementary school, I actually brought my own lunch pretty much all the time. I made my own lunch pretty much every morning. But for some time, I did eat the school lunch, and they always provided milk to drink with it. It was like either plain milk or it was chocolate milk, and I was always disturbed by that just because like I didn't like milk. I wasn't even lactose intolerant yet, but I didn't like milk, and I was like, dude, this fucking sucks. Like, can they just give us some juice or like water or literally anything else? Like, this sucks. Like, can I have options? Like, why am I forced to drink milk? Come on. Like, not everybody likes this. Not everybody wants to drink this. Some people are lactose intolerant. Like, it's just not fair. It's like, okay, we just not gonna drink anything because you gave me milk and I'm lactose intolerant. Like, it just, that sort of thing bothered me quite a bit. But obviously that's not exactly what she was saying. She was going for this ridiculous racist stretch of being like, oh, by the way, this goes to underprivileged kids, which, by the way, she made synonymous with Black kids. That's literally what she was saying, that basically, oh, this is happening to Black kids, underprivileged kids. First off, not all Black kids are underprivileged. I was, definitely, but not all are. I know that is a stereotype that you firmly believe that, oh, all the Black kids they grow up poor and in the ghetto and gang banging on the streets and shooting them up and throwing up gang signs, sagging their pants with their butt cheeks hanging out, listening to gangster rap, waiting for their time to get shot up in the streets, dead at age 16. I know that's what you believe. That's what you believe the Black stereotype is, and that's what all of us go through. That's our lives. But I'm glad you're that educated. It's like the same logic where people think that everybody and everywhere in like Africa is extremely dirt poor and that they like ride on lions. Like, it's like the same thing. It's just not reality. But this is not perpetuating systemic racism or whatever the hell she said. That's just not what's happening. I do agree that like they should have more options instead of like just having milk, but this isn't coming from like some place of racism. It's not what's happening. This isn't some oppression because they're providing milk to underprivileged kids. Everybody was drinking that shit. Whether you're white, Black, it didn't fucking matter. You're drinking that goddamn milk too because that's what they provided with you. And it has nothing to do with the privilege, nothing to do with the skin color. It really doesn't.
Standing up to corporate lies. Fast food companies like McDonald's aggressively market unhealthy foods to Black communities, contributing to health crises such as diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. Black men, like all men, have a responsibility to protect their health and communities by rejecting these corporate lies. These companies profit off sick and suffering, but switching to a plant-based diet can empower individuals to resist manipulation and build healthier lives. Reconnecting with ancestral food traditions. Before colonization and the introduction of unhealthy eating habits, Black ancestors thrived on nutritious plant-based foods such as collard greens, sweet potatoes, beans, okra, and other vegetables. Veganism is a way to reconnect with these wholesome traditions, rejecting the unhealthy processed foods that were later forced upon the community.
Okay, I hate to do this again, but I do have to agree. She did say something truthful here. Yes, that like the fast food comment that she said is true, that fast food was heavily marketed in a lot of very low income areas, and a lot of low income areas happen to have a lot of people that look like me in them, which is very true. And it probably was extremely targeted because it was beneficial, because it was just easier for people in those low income areas. Back when fast food was actually cheap, to just go and get a cheap ass like dollar hamburger from McDonald's, like that was a real thing. And she's not wrong about that. She actually isn't wrong about that. Holy fuck, guys, like give her a round of applause. She said something that wasn't bullshit. Like, oh my God, she said something that wasn't bullshit. But then obviously she tainted it, you know, she squatted over, took her pants down, took a fat shit on it. Sorry for that imagery, but watching a vegan teacher video, it was never gonna be pretty just like her. But anyway, let me say, where this goes is kind of incorrect in a way, but also kind of correct in a way, which is weird to say. But the fact of the matter is all those like vegetables and stuff that she listed, I love that shit. Like I really do. I actually, again, I've explained this before, I eat mostly vegan. Like I'm not a vegan by any fucking means. The only meat I will eat is chicken. And I only have chicken a couple times a week because I like it and I know that it is good for my body. And I believe firmly it is the best thing for me to do is to have a nice balanced Mediterranean diet, which the Mediterranean diet, which I've explained to you guys before, is known to be the healthiest diet that the vast majority of people can consume. And that's what I do. And that is a very high vegetables, beans, you know, all that kind of stuff, like all those things that she named, and it is absolutely wonderful. Now, I just think it's crazy that she used this as like some argument for like black people being vegan, which is like, no, because this should just apply to anybody. Like you being black has nothing to do with that. I'm very confident that a lot of people probably ate similar stuff if they had access to it. So it didn't matter what your skin color was, just did you have access to these fruits? You know, did you have access to these vegetables? You know, when people rolled up here in like the 1700s or whatever, you know, like, did they have access to this stuff right away? No, but eventually they started cultivating these things and they started eating those potatoes and all that stuff, that the beautiful, wonderful vegetables that come from the ground. And it had nothing to do with the skin color. It just really doesn't. And the fact of the matter is, I've explained many times before, veganism can be healthy for the right body, for the right person, for the person with the right means of getting every nutrient, every vitamin, whatever it is that they need to thrive on a vegan diet. But even then, you may get unlucky, and a lot of people don't get the same effect from supplements that they do from the actual sources. Like vitamin A is a perfect example. It's one I always use. Vitamin A typically only found in animal products in its true form, right? It's kind of similar to like how complex carbohydrates get broken down into simpler ones that your body then uses. It's very similar where when you get vitamin A from a plant, it's in a more complex form, which I always forget what it's called, but there's a name for it. And then that gets converted into the vitamin A that your body uses. Whereas with animal products, you just straight up get the vitamin A. And some people's bodies, when they undergo that conversion process, don't do a very efficient job, and they might only get like 10% of what should have been. So if they're taking it as a supplement, say they're taking vitamin A supplements, I don't know, they're supposed to have like 100 milligrams or something, I don't know the exact numbers, how this works, and they do that and they take it, but their body's only converting that 10% for something you can actually use, then you're only getting the 10, and then you end up with a vitamin A deficiency. And this happens across other nutrients as well that typically come from animal products. It's a normal thing. This is why there are so many people that are vegan that they do everything right according to their doctors, according to their charts, you know, they're supposedly healthy, their levels are correct, but then they have issues. They have issues with their brain, they have issues with their digestive health, etc. A bunch of other different problems, fatigue, whatever you can think of. Some people think they're dying on a vegan diet while doing it correctly, and it's just because their body cannot handle those supplements properly. And then you're talking about these people being underprivileged because for some reason underprivileged and black are synonymous to you. What you need to understand is that being vegan is for people that have privilege, people that can afford to supplement. Supplements are fucking expensive. Like a bottle of Omega-3 is something, it can be like $20 for just a bottle that may last you a month, you know? And if you're buying like 4 or 5 different bottles and say you're doing this for a family of 4, just you can get into the several hundreds for just supplementing every single month. Does that sound like something an underprivileged person can do? Because if you want to make this argument that us black underprivileged people should be vegan, what you should understand first is how the fuck are we going to get the means to do that? Anyway, that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you want to support me, I'd really appreciate it if you purchased my book, The Elevator Man, got yourself a copy. There should be a link in the description. Definitely check it out. Like and subscribe. See you guys next time.